Hey guys, this is Rainwolf. We're back with 86, episode 4.
Hey guys, Kirido Silverheart here.
And Asuna Silverheart.
And this is Lyria.
This one was kind of peaceful.
Comparatively so, yeah.
I feel like this episode equates to what we would consider the Monster of the Week type episode for any other series.
Yeah, or the calm before the storm.
Yeah, it's like, this is the story, just kind of background data dump type of episode. Maybe a little bit less of a Monster of a Week, but
yeah, it's setting up story is more or less what it's doing. I think it definitely more dialogue, less action. But yeah, it's going to be really interesting the next.
So in the details on how this starts, it's pretty much back where Laughing Fox is ripping into Lena, and then Black Dog ends up speaking up. Theo, stop. Then he tells Handler One, kill the synchronization. And then she's about to say something, and then the battle's over. You don't need to monitor us anymore.
yeah, he's the XO of the group. He very much takes pulls rank and says, this conversation's over. You need to go your separate ways, and we need to have a internal dialogue, and people need to calm the hell down.
And he even makes the point that was like, I'm doing the same thing as those white pigs. And then I've tainted your death.
Yeah.
At first with this, I'm like, who are they talking about? And then later on, once you really kind of figure out who he's actually talking about.
Well, and I think I know where you're going with that, but I think he wasn't talking so much about the character that we learn more about later. I think he was actually referring more or less to
Kaie, yeah. But also, it's like, even with that, I think really it probably has some involvement with him as well because of who he was under command before he's actually who he's with now, with Sheen.
You get, and if you read, when you read the light novel, you get already there's a lot more detail about several of the characters and their interactions with her and why they act the way they act.
I feel like it is like, and we'll get into that later, but I do feel like Laughing Fox has seen both sides of it, and he's seen both sides of the people who have been their handlers or their commanders, and I think he's very torn with that, but he's also resentful of it.
Yeah. So afterwards, the opening scene or opening cutscene goes into they're out in the little lobby, or not lobby, but little outside area that's part of their housing.
They're at base. They're at their base.
They're running all that. You see that Theo is still having consultations about everything. Then it goes into pretty much their living room.
There was a moment I want to point out, and it's that foreshadowing that happens in this series that we've seen before. And there was a moment where Theo was standing in front of that portrait they have.
The mural.
Yeah. And he was standing there, and she had that sword drawn on. It looked like that sword was drawn on him, like it was bearing down on him. And I think that's going to play into later. But I thought that was an interesting little tidbit there.
Well, and something else I picked up in that same scene, the way it pans in, not only do you see what Asuna saw, but I also saw what looked like another Juggernaut kind of off to the side in the corner, and it kind of zooms in on what would be like the call sign, their logo for each of their Juggernauts. So it really kind of, in my opinion, foreshadows that Lena's gonna end up taking the field and possibly even end up in a Juggernaut at some point.
Yeah, and who knows, that Juggernaut could have possibly been her father's. Because remember, well, I'll leave that for later. Skipping ahead.
But I also want to point out in this scene, because I thought this is what Austin was going to point out first, and that's why I laughed, was Shin sitting there reading his book, and the damn cat.
Oh, the cat was cute.
Like, just in his face, trying to swat at the book, and he's just, dead stare, as he generally is.
I have no time for you.
And he's just holding the book above his head. I thought it was an adorable little moment.
Can't I read in peace?
I love seeing character interactions in stories like this, because the character development that it builds just from little moments like this.
So as they're in the dining area, or the living room, I mean, Theo is sitting there, he's drawing, and then White, or as he likes to call the cat at the moment Whitey is jumping off, is like, I'm trying to draw you. The other two come up behind him. It's like, Theo, that's a fox, not a cat. And it's scary.
It's supposed
Yeah,
to
you're
be a
supposed to be
laughing
laughing
fox.
fox.
And then even Kaye? No, not Kaye.
Corinne.
Karina, yeah. Karina, she's even brings it out to everyone there. It's like, you're bothered by what you said to that woman, aren't you? And he gives this grumpy face, and he's like, no, I'm not.
Like, no, maybe.
Gee,
Shut
I'm just
up.
gonna I'm really excited for where they take her on the anime because her backstory in the light novel so far is fantastic. Like it pain. There is pain too. I'm just gonna warn you all for that
it's
one.
fantastic to get paid. So I'm like, oh gosh, now I want to know.
It's so good.
It's funny how the girls creep up to him. Don't move.
Yeah, they make a very big deal in the animation about this button that popped off of his coat.
Yeah.
And apparently it's the only button he has. And I love the fact that he uses it as like an anxiety thing.
It's a worry stone, pretty much. He rubs on it, pulls at it. You know, it's a deep-seated anxiety type thing.
And also it's pretty much a memento from the Fox Commander. And it's like, well, we're all jealous because you meant someone like that. And it kind of says something that a lot of whoever they've worked with, any of the ones that have been here before, they didn't have the experience he had with a lot of the Republic.
I felt like it was more of she was speaking about Kaye and Laughing Fox. I think he had a very deep connection to her, and he had a deep connection, like you said, to his commander too. I felt like it was a little bit, but
yeah, that makes sense because of the way he blew up. The way he definitely, since he blew up when she died, but also the little interaction we had in the living space when she was speaking to Lena originally.
Yeah, and I feel like that was part of it. That was definitely, he has had people he's cared about. So I feel like that was kind of what it was insinuating too. But yeah, he obviously is very loyal. He's also maybe
jaded.
Yeah, he's emotional, but he's also jaded in a weird way too. I think it's Laughing Fox has an odd combination of both.
Yeah. Well, and they also put him in big detail in the cover art for the series. The cover art has Lena, Shin, Black Dog, and a few others. So it's kind of interesting because that tells you that he's going to have some kind of importance to the series.
Yeah, I mean, he could be the one that, I don't know, turns opinions around at some point or something. Who knows? I mean, he could himself have a giant character arc change about how he feels about the rest of the citizens in the actual Republic. And
so it's Lena, Shin, the redheaded one, Kade,
Karina,
Theo, Bread the Girl, and Black Dog. So moving back on to what's going on after all of this discussion, and with I forgot her name. The alpha.
Which one?
Silver hair.
Lena.
Not Lena.
No,
the other one that's actually part of the unit.
Anju,
yes. Sorry, everybody. It has been a very long day. I fell asleep coming home and taking a longer nap than I planned to.
Also, in the light novel, or at least the version that I'm reading, they translate her name to Angel. So,
interesting.
There's
that kind of fits her character in a way, but we'll go into that later. So now they're at the mechanic shop, and Shin is once again
getting chewed out.
Yep, their dog is shaking by the gate. Their mechanic comes walking by Theo.
Dummy is, as I refer to him, just because of the Iron Man reference, is just one of those background characters that if something epic doesn't end up happening with them later in the series at some point, I'm going to be sorely disappointed.
Right.
Just because he has so much comedic character times to him. Like, people might get mad at this, especially you, Wolf, but the scenes with the robot are almost as good, in my opinion, as some of the scenes from Yashahime with Moroha.
I thought you were gonna say Kilala. Like for some reason, the robot's like a Kilala type.
I could see that too, but I mean, just kind of that like oddball personality that the robot seems to have.
Mhm.
It just reminds me of some of the personality traits that we saw in Moroha in Yashahime. Just that
Gotcha.
kind of like anxiety ridden, just kind of hang towards the back when there's an argument going on until she gets involved in the argument.
Yeah, I see it. So then Shin outputs to the dog, motions for him to come over. Then he drops the plate from Kablut.
Kieran.
Kablut. Yeah,
Okay, the German name. Okay, well
yeah.
we will make
Kirsch.
it easy. It is German for cherry blossom.
Now knowing
Kirschblüte.
that, it really, with the type of person she was and being the groundkeeper or the kind of with the way they normally put cherry blossoms, she kind of fit that
And
fairly
then
well.
if you look at her plate, it has the cherry blossoms on it as well.
Oh, it does.
Yep.
But he tells her thank you, and Theo's standing there and talking with Shin. The Shin makes the comments like, "It's like, what would the commander have done for the Fox commander?" Is what he brings up. Would he have gotten mad?
And this is when we really start to see the worry stone come into play, the button
Mhm.
on the jacket. Because
Mhm.
Theo's sitting there and he's fidgeting and fidgeting and fidgeting and fidgeting throughout this whole discussion, pretty
Yeah.
much.
And Shin tells that he was like, no, he wouldn't have. He wouldn't have. That's what he wouldn't have done that. So
And we get over to Shun in his room. He's about to engrave the plate, and the handler, Lena, connects to him. Well, it changes over to Lena, and she's like, "Connect to Undertaker."
No,
Oh wait, no, that's a little.
no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't change over.
It goes to the
Sitting there,
nameplate.
yeah, he's sitting there and he starts to carve. He gets ready to carve on the nameplate, and all of a sudden he hears the para raid kick in, and it's dead silent. And he's like, "Do you need something, Handler One?" And that's when we get our title card.
Real names.
And again, I've said this in several episodes so far. I'm going to say it again. I love the stylization of the storyboarding
Yeah,
and the direction of this anime.
the breakdowns
Get
for this are
the
very
yeah,
good.
you get the unit, then you get Lena, and then you get an interaction. Where it's something from the whole thing that's affecting both sides.
Very true. And after the nameplate, now we're with Lena and her friend, and this conversation gets a little interesting and worrisome at the same time.
Downright dark and awkward
Mhm.
is how I felt.
And I already mentioned that her friend, like I struggle like with wanting to like her friend, but
I
then
think all of us have had
also,
that struggle
That's
with her.
yeah, it's like also you see it there. You see that complacency, that willingness to let this go on, but then she does explain why she does it, which
Because
isn't
she knows that herself, she can't change anything about it. The damage is already done.
Yeah, and so she's rather just let it keep going.
Yeah, Annette says it herself. She was like, this world can't be changed. This whole situation can't be changed by one person.
And she even makes the joke. It's like, what are you going to do? You're going to head out to the 86 camp?
Yeah. She's like, are you going to go into the field? Are you going to fight beside them? They're not your friends. They're not your comrades. Why do you give a damn?
Yeah. So you don't need to know them. I mean,
yeah.
we're friends. It's like, aren't we humans? Wasn't treating them as humans your goal? You're overthinking this. It's
There's something with her friend that's off. Like it's almost like she's in this denial herself.
yeah.
Like the things she's saying, oddly enough, it almost feels like she's in a denial. There's something there under the surface with her that I'm curious about.
Yeah.
I don't know if like what I'm feeling is she's gonna eventually turn on Lena for her own means, or if she's saying those things because she's being forced to, or she's being tapped, or whatever happened to her father, she's afraid of because her father's dead. And I'm wondering if, and he was the head scientist, right, in charge of
Yeah.
this. I'm
She
wondering if
took his
something
role when he
happened to
died.
him that he spoke up or said something and something conveniently happened to him. And now she's afraid to say anything because it's very odd the way she steps around stuff. It's just
It,
like she's almost in this denial about it because she's just accepting it.
it doesn't really help either when Lena gets up to leave and then it sees that angry look in her face.
Yeah.
But with the way also the expressions and everything during the discussions, the tone she had when she brought up the certain things through their conversation, it's still fairly hard to tell what her placement is, but also if she is fully accepting to give up on helping.
Yeah, it's an odd thing. That's why I said I'm wondering if she's afraid of something and that's why she's not speaking up. Like if she is,
Who
then
knows? Since she is the
it's
head researcher, we could have one of those moments where
because she's worried about Lena and she
Mhm.
wants Lena. She even mentions that you could stop being a handler and you could just come work with me, in the lab. And
and
Lena's
this is
like,
not the
"No."
first time she's brought it up either.
No.
Hmm.
It's almost like she's trying to save Lena from something.
Yeah. Like she
Um,
knows something that Lena is not aware of as of yet.
yeah, and it's odd and it's very like there's a lot there. And
Mhm.
it's but we're just gonna have to wait and see.
Yeah, I'm wondering if this is gonna be one of those moments with her that even though she may be afraid to do anything, or once she fully decides or determining on what actions Lena takes, we have one of those moments where she has created something in the background hidden from everybody
Mhm.
and
Or
then gets
does
like a
some
upgraded juggernaut or something.
does
Who
something
knows?
yeah, does something to help her in the long run. I'm hoping so. I'm hoping it's that and not that because I've seen characters like this before and there's usually two things. Either they turn on them for whatever reason or they come back and they redeem themselves with
I'm gonna
something
say
that
3 in this boat because with what we've gotten for her so far, she is in one of the 3. She's either gonna betray, do nothing, or help.
yeah.
And right now, I'm
I don't
stuck
think
in
they'd
the do
waste
nothing, betray.
way yeah, I don't see her doing nothing because they have focused an awful lot on her. I say I'm leaning more toward either she's going to betray or she's going to switch around and help. I'm just curious of what her motivation is. Like I want to know her backstory because we don't have her.
We don't have the
And
So
details.
yeah, we don't know exactly what's going on, but I do feel like she knows more about what's going on than Lena does, but for whatever reason, be it to protect her friend or whatever, she's not willing to say it. And you could tell from this argument, it's one of those things. It's like when, almost like a defiant child when they're trying to do something, and the parents just like, no, you can't do that. Well, why can't I do this? And they don't want to tell them why they can't, just that, no, it's bad. You shouldn't do it. That's almost how she came across.
So I'm not going to spoil anything for anybody because I want to see how they bring this entire thing, if they even bring this whole thing, which I hope they do, into the anime. But in some of the research that I've done for 86 for this podcast, I did find out about Annette's history and backstory, and I'm just going to throw this out there as kind of a little anticipation moment. Rain and Asuna, you're both verging on correct.
See, that's concerning.
Yes, it is.
I don't want to be right.
But I'm not going to say whether you're verging towards correct on betrayal or doing nothing.
So we have to
Ambiguous.
we
I
have
hate
to
Yeah,
it.
I
wait.
am leaving this purposely ambiguous
I
because
don't.
what I found out is shocking and just, oh my god, I want to see how this comes up.
You are lucky we don't record in person because something's would have been thrown at you.
I can find that flip flop I'm always threatening him with if you want. Just
Hey now.
throw it across the room here.
Hey, I am building anticipation for the reveal, okay? That's all I'm saying.
Still.
He's cruising for a bruise. That's what he's doing.
Do not count Annette out as just some backward side character.
Yeah, I don't think she is. I think there's some stuff going on with her, but
Yeah.
like I
Well,
don't know what it
she
is.
gives all the signs or little reactions that something's there, but
What is it? Yeah. So we're gonna have to wait. That's a wait and see moment there for us.
yeah. So as Lena leaves, she's walking, the sun is setting, and then she's having a thought of back to her father. They're going out to the battlefield. Like, you're at war, right, father? She's bringing up, and then we figure out where they're going. They're going out a little past the 86. So she could see the battlefield.
Yeah, so this is coming into play with what Lena talked about in the past with her discussion with the 86 squad that granted she was never a combatant in the field, but she has been on the battlefield and she was saved by an 86.
Yep.
And you see it in the helicopter when they're going through. You see almost like the camp type
Yeah.
setup down there below. She sees some of the things. And yeah, you see at the end of it where, her father, there's just fire and screaming and her father's holding her and that's it. And so I'm assuming their helicopter went down.
Mhm.
So
They
is what's
happened to be
happening.
they happened to be attacked on the day he was taking her out.
Yeah.
As this is going on, now her uncle appears in the hallway. They're having her and her uncle are having a slight conversation. Can't remember the last place of the battlefield in District 86.
Yeah, which I'm not sure if we've actually mentioned this in the past yet, but biologically, that's not her uncle. That's actually, he was just a very close
Yeah,
military friend.
Yeah, family friend.
I figured as much
Yeah.
from the way his personality is and the way the vibe he kind of gives off.
Yeah, I mean, he does have a very paternal vibe to her, or to him towards Lena. I think that's just, where he was so close with her father and, got to know her growing up and everything and
Yeah.
then her joining into the military.
And besides that, it could also be a respect thing because of, like in Filipino culture and a number of other cultures, anyone that's seen as close family, they're either called as aunt, uncle.
Yeah. But I do love that in this scene, we also start to see
More
not
of
only,
his.
yeah, we start to see his true colors really start to come out
Yeah.
because as much as he loves and respects Lena and
And her father.
wants to try and protect her, at the end of the day, he's a company man when it comes to the military.
Yeah. And he even mentions, I don't want to see what happened to you, your father happen to you. I think there's so much shade here. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like this whole thing is completely shady, that there's
Oh.
this giant overarching evil government for some reason in my head, and that there are often people, if they're starting to make them mad. Like, I really think this is going down. Like, it's very dark and I don't like it, but I feel like the way he said, I don't want to see the same thing happen to you that happened to your father. And he goes on about idealism and how it's just an idea, and you can't change anything with an idea.
And how more that the transition from being actually called people now to processors. And as you said, he's going to do whatever it can do to help himself.
Yeah, he's as Kirito said, he's a company man. He's gonna do what's best for him. He cares to a degree about her, and he doesn't want to see things happen to her. But if someone were to betray her, it'd be him. He, without a doubt, because of his self-righteousness and his sense of justice,
Yeah.
that would be it.
And it's gonna work because she even says it's like, I'll continue being the handler for Spearhead. And then he said, and what does the Republic flag stand for? He throws that at her as soon as she says that. And it's kind of weird that
And
he
that
would bring
throws
that up.
that throws back to when she spoke to those cadets during that lecture, and she talked about the flag. That's concerning, and that was almost a veiled threat to me. Like, it was a very veiled threat, not necessarily from him,
Yeah.
but he was almost like, I know about this. This has been brought to my attention. They're watching you. Is almost what that felt like to me.
Because the flag with the mantra, the thing is, they don't see the 86 as people. So why should you follow the mantra according to them as well?
This reinforces the dehumanization of the 86 even further because I got to thinking about it. I was like, every time we hear about the 86, they're referred to as pigs.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay, this scene right here really made me realize that they are less than that even. Because, well, throughout the time frame of war so far, they went from humans with civil equal rights to being less than humans and being classified as just filthy pigs. And now they aren't even personified as animals anymore. They are part of a computer.
Yeah.
They are part of a machine, which means that they don't even have a viable human essence to them at all.
And even with this, and when they were bringing up, it was like, as pigs, I'm like, what are you talking? And then it transitions over to the lobby statue that has a hole where the water's spilling out. You see these cigarette butts, bottles of liquor in the fountain. I'm like, I think pigs should be turned the other way around. And I think the 86 have it right.
Amen to
Right.
that.
Uh-huh.
Like, how do you let your government office or base or whatever you want to call it be defiled in the way that it has been? It's just terrible. So then we get outside. Lena is standing across the street. She's hearing what's being broadcast over the TV, the speakers of the city. And then she's still contemplating a number of things as this is going on. Then she runs off, and then she's hearing the conversation with Theo again through her head. She's running, and then she ends up getting to this dam, or no, in probably a little more of a graveyard.
It was supposed to be a graveyard.
Yeah,
So
it was a
it's-
war memorial cemetery.
Yeah.
And I want to focus on like the inner struggle that she's having right now for just a second, because she's at her normal, street crossing or bus stop, whatever it is, and she hears the media report just like we heard in episode 1. Only this time, now she's fighting her personal feelings about the military and about the Republic and the treatment of the 86s, just like she was at the first episode.
Yep.
But then she feels even worse because that entire argument from Theo after Kaye dies is replaying in her head, and it's getting louder and louder and louder to the point where it starts to drown out and even synchronize with the media coverage of the war.
Yeah.
Until she finally has an emotional breakdown and snaps and runs off crying. And she calls it out later, but she even said, "I thought about just running away." And I'm like, you know what?
I
You're
thought she was
16.
about to. Like, I really thought she was about to. I was like, she's going somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, let's not forget, she's 16.
Yeah.
She's the youngest person in the military to ever be promoted to the rank of major.
And she is very innocent.
Yeah, I mean, she does have that, as they called it out before, virgin-esque, naive, innocent look on life, especially the military.
What bothers me is that in this whole society, the whole culture that's going on right now, their whole culture, obviously, and because they're also setting them up for marriage and they're this young and stuff like that, and it's bothersome that they're so young. But if they've been at war for a while, that means that there's a good possibility before the 86 and everything happened, they've had a lot of losses, and so there's been a lot of people. So
Their
the younger
population.
people. Yeah, the younger people are now already way before they're ready to having to start families and deal with things that are far beyond them.
Fully agree, because if they have somebody this young as a major,
Yeah, so there's obviously been, although I mean she's exceptional, it's still kind of bothersome that they're putting these kids into, training for this stuff so very young. So there's obviously been some type of population reduction that they've had to
it's
start.
probably from the start of the war.
Yeah. I mean, which has been devastating.
Before, because there was a transition to what now is handler and processor.
Yeah.
As she's going on, she connects specifically to the Undertaker, or Shin in other terms. She even says, "I'm sorry, I'm really sorry." Then she even tells Shin her actual name, and I'm going to slaughter that, so I'm not going to try.
I believe it's Vadalina.
Vadalina.
Milzid?
Malaise.
Zays. Yeah, I already knew I was going to slaughter that.
Or Milize.
She goes on, it's like, "I know I should have probably done this sooner and everything, but would you please tell me your names?" Then it's like, he tells them everybody's name, but she even asks for them to gather up so she can have a conversation with everyone.
Yeah, she wants to apologize to him. She wants to speak
apologize, and she wants to hear them tell her their names personally.
But I also love the fact that he was just like, when she said that, I'd like to talk to the entire group, Shin was just like, "All right, hold on a minute, I'll connect you." And she's like, "Wait, right now? What?" And he hangs and he disconnects from her.
Yep.
You don't get a choice.
Please hold.
We're doing this.
Yeah.
Please
I'm
hold.
like,
I will be
that's the
reconnected
ultimate.
above
Like, I was like, that is a great little power play move by Shin.
it. Yep. And the thing is, I think Shin has kind of figured out Lena already, probably more than the others have. But
Yeah.
he's just keeping to himself for the time being, not wanting to get involved, but also he has other personal manners that we know because of the slight expressions he's made from definitely when he was going back to the dock when they were all there shooting. And then when the mechanic called him over, he was getting fussed at. But once he reached the shed, that smirk that came across it. So there is something else going on with Shin. And we kind of actually figure out a little bit if you kind of think into it. May not be accurate, but it's there.
Well, why don't you go into it?
Because I'd be skipping
A
a whole chunk.
Ba-bum, ba-bum.
Follow
So,
the story. Follow the story.
And we're
So-
going here.
Yep.
Let's go.
It's like right now. But before going into it, and before we actually go into the where they're conversing and telling her, the gang is telling Lena their actual names. The way is like right now, the reaction she has, and then credit scene.
hmm
The music they gave right here,
It was
the-
amazing. Oh my god.
the look in her face.
Again, I love the editing
Hmm
of this anime.
The direction, the art direction, and the editing are fantastic in this anime.
And
Excellent, just absolutely excellent.
with this one, it kind of gave chills down my spine. I'm not sure if
It-
anybody else got that.
No, I got that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
hell yes. Hell yes.
Because
the
foretells that something really is going to happen later on.
just that still image as it goes into the actual credits of her reaching back to activate the pararaid and that look on her face and that fire in her eyes, her determination and her devotion to flipping this entire social structure on its head has been rekindled in this mere moment. She is determined more than ever to see her goals and her ideals through to the end, no matter what the outcome.
Yep. After that, it jumps in. She introduces herself to everybody. They're talking. Theo brings up, like, didn't Shin already tell you, gave us all her name? What a pain. Like, he did. It's like, but you didn't tell me yourselves. She throws that at Theo. First off, so even Shin throws him under the bus in this situation as well. They're
That's where I was going to go to.
they're all connected to Lita right now. It's like you're regretting it. It's like maybe not what you said, but how you said it. Theo shuts up for a moment, throws a dart. Then he goes into explaining himself. My Juggernaut is the laughing coffin, but I got it from someone
Laughing
else.
coffin?
Laughing
Are we back in SAO?
You said laughing dolphin.
Oh,
We
wow.
went back to SAO for a minute there.
It
It
all
is
goes
made
back to
by the-
Aincrad.
Rain will fix exhausted. Just overlook him. We're sorry.
It is the same anime studio, so you know it's
It is. It is
Yeah.
A1
From
Pictures.
what was it, lyric from the studio that brought you pain.
Here comes a story about even more pain.
More pain.
So he goes into the discussion and it's like there was an Alba a weirdo who said it wasn't right to make the 86 fight alone. And the only Alba we know of that has fought with the 86 and actually kind of has this mentality.
Is her father.
Yep. And what kind of throws me off is like, why did I know she's? This is probably the reason why she didn't connect 2 and 2 at this moment
I
was
don't think she
because of the
knew- well,
situation.
her father has never, he took her to the battlefield, but he never openly said, and he said he has fought before, which a lot of them have fought before, but he never, I think he was covering up maybe to a certain degree, maybe to protect his family, that he was still fighting with them, that he was still going out there to the battlefield to help these people. And I think that I'm pretty certain, which I mean, there's a possibility there's others too, not just her father, but it's really looking like it's her dad. It was
Yeah.
her father.
Well, and also Commander Fox, given the
Yes.
kind of the way, kind of the look her father gave off, I'm not sure if it kind of that
Fox
title
Commander,
kind of fits with him from the little that we've gotten of him.
So it's interesting, and I think there is a lot of ties and things that go together.
That's a good person you were Kay was talking about. It's not just them. She was referring to everybody who fought the hardest they could. It's a crappy world that made the Alba as they are. Call me Theo or Rika, or wait, that's a female name, or a cute little shit pig.
That was fun. That was
They,
fun.
that was hilarious. You
I
throw it there.
laughed out loud at that moment.
And then now we have Raiden, also known as Black Dog. But first, let me apologize. Your nightly calls. At first, you want to be a wannabe saint, hypocrite pig. Realizing now that when we laughed on how stupid it was, I apologize for that. So, or Black Dog. then he goes into explaining, it's like, we don't see you as equals or a comrade. We were just talking with you to kill the time.
I really liked his speech because he
Yeah.
apologized, but he also was like, "We're
Being
not
honest.
equals. We don't see you as an equal. We don't trust you."
Yeah, it's because she's still within the walls.
Yep.
And I think they've been betrayed before. And I think she knows this. She knows it's hard to win their trust.
Yeah.
And I think she's at a point where she's prepared now and she has a better understanding of what she needs to do so that, they know that she's there to help. She wants to help them.
Even with the last words he said of you're not cut out to be a handler and stuff like that, the expression Black Dog had on his face at the end of his dialect,
Yeah, when he was finished speaking.
it was an interesting facial expression to have, even with saying all these words.
Yeah, I mean, like the entire time that he's talking to her, he's very clear. He's very articulate about how he and the rest of the squad feel. But at the same time, he keeps it kind of warm and lighthearted. I guess would be the way to say it.
It's almost like almost a teasing way, I guess.
Yeah, like the way he chuckled and laughed out loud when she said something, he was like, "Oh, so you must be a moron too on top of all of it."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was
There's a possibility he has some doubt in the words he say.
Yeah.
That's what I'm kind of getting from it, but it's
I
not like
think Lena's already showing them more than a lot of the other handlers have. And I think that to him, that's kind of amusing. It's interesting, and he's curious of where this is going.
Yeah, and had it not been a potential mood wrecker, considering the things that he was saying and coming off of Theo's speech there,
Mhm.
I would have loved a little just insert jab scene of Shin like elbowing Theo, saying that's what Commander would have said.
Yeah.
I
And
would have loved that.
it kind of really did give that vibe off as well. That's like that would have been because some of them we don't know who exactly has had interactions with the Commander Fox besides exactly as we know as Theo and probably Black Dog by the seams of it because of what he said to Theo to begin.
Yeah,
in the
maybe
beginning.
even Kaye before she died. But yeah, I would have loved a little like elbow jab
Yep.
scene with Shin. And I honestly, considering the way like Shin fires back at people with that
Yeah.
smart ass attitude of his, I wouldn't have seen it character breaking at all.
No, because he does have those moments where he just jabs at him. He's jabbed at Theo this episode. He jabbed at Black Dog the episode before that.
Even the scene when they were outside shooting the cans and he just sits there on the porch nonchalantly, barely even aims, just goes punk, 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 and knocks all of them.
Yeah.
Even just something like that. But that speech right there also shows why Raiden is the XO.
Yeah. Very
because
much so.
he's the one that can keep a level head and he can keep it light, but he can also get his point across.
After Raiden does his introduction, the rest of them start naming off. There's really no more dialect after that, after everybody else introduces. Then it goes into Shin. He's walking down the hallway, and Lena's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I never got your name." He gives her name. Then the name, his last name or surname, she recognizes it.
Yeah, it strikes a chord with her. And she asked him specifically, "Do you know?"
And then he stops, dead stop. And the thing is, the screen keeps panning as well to fit with, like, literally that he stopped, but whoever's watching, or like in camera work wise,
the camera just kept going.
the camera guy's like, "Oh wait, you were stopping there?"
Nope. No, we're good. Yep.
Yeah, so he says that his name is Shinai Nozen, and Lena says, "Wait, are you related? Like, do you know somebody by the name of Churai Nozen? Went by the call sign. Oh, what?
Doulahan.
Doulahan. Thank you.
And his I was gonna call it his crest, but it's his mark.
Headless Knight. And that's
Was
what
a
exactly what a
Headless
Doulahan is.
Yeah.
And then we get all these flashing images with eyes gone out.
Yeah, the faces. Yeah, he's almost like scratched out the eyes in his mind. For whatever reason, Shin has pushed these memories to the back of his head. These are things from a life that he doesn't have anymore.
Yeah.
These are memories and it's just like quick flashes of those memories that are so long ago that,
But the smirk that comes across his face in the end. of those little flashes.
Shin's smile gives me chills,
Mhm.
and it
Because
does it
he's that-
on multiple levels.
I agree, because he's that quiet guy. But when you
Serious. Yeah.
and then you see these, when the times he does smile, it's like, ugh, okay,
But any anime fan who has
anything
ever
for that
watched
matter,
any anime who has seen that thin, creepy smile come across somebody's face, you know that they are a
definitely
sick
from a quiet
twisted-
person.
at some point.
Yeah.
Well, he's also the type you have to, and he talked about it earlier in the episode too. He is, and one of the reasons he's also called the Undertaker, it's because he collects the nameplates and he keeps track of them, and he remembers those people, and
And
he
there was-
remembers each one of those people.
And they actually gave us a number.
561.
Okay, this is a daring thought on
Since he
Lena's.
started 5 years ago.
For Lena, because you notice when we were at that graveyard with the stones, only a couple of them had names on it, and the rest were blank.
Because they don't consider the 86 human.
I
They're
know.
not tabbing.
Yes.
They're not counting the 86 at all.
But this is something daring. I said daring for Lena if she got a lit copy of all those names
Oh
from
my god!
Shin.
And she goes in and carves the names of all the 560 some 86s
Yes.
on those
Yeah.
walls. Wow. See, like I toned out for like a split second because of something going on at home. So I was focused on more or less the text
Yeah.
and missed the visuals of that scene when she's at the memorial park talking to Shin.
Yeah.
On the para raid. I did see that her father's name, she was stopped right in front of her father's marker.
Yep.
I saw his name. I thought it was kind of like the National D-Day Memorial
Mhm.
or something, to where it was literally just all these stones full of names.
But there was a good number of them that she walked past that are blank.
Wow.
Yeah, because they don't keep track of this. They don't.
There's no one dying anymore.
That's
Well,
what
'cause
that's what the news
They
says.
talked about, because they talked about at the beginning of the war, they lost 80, 90 some percent of their military force. And then, of course, heroes are going to be remembered,
Yep.
even before and after this whole conflict. So I wasn't sure if it was just a choice in the animation to not show the detail of the names, because those names are written so fine.
No, it was intentional that those were
Yeah,
showing up.
because if you look at the ones that they did, or that there are names on it, they're fairly big letters, and there's a pretty good chunk of space between each name. So it's
Okay.
It's that's why I kind of bring up. It's like, would she be this daring? But as everything closes out, we get the nameplate of, after Shin's creepy little smile and he's my brother, I'm with you. So my feeling, there's going to be a much deeper connection now between Lena and the 86 than what we've had recently.
No, yeah, definitely. There's been a realization. I think Lena's had time to process what's going on a little better. The 86 do seem to be accepting her a bit more. I think they're starting to find a common ground. This is the start of a common ground. She's starting to realize where she was naive at and the things that she needed to change, and they're starting to be a little bit more open to her. So this is interesting. But yeah, I think there'll be a lot more of a connection. I'm curious. I'm pretty certain I already know where it's going with his brother. I feel like because Lena knew his brother, I feel like maybe he was the processor that saved her, or something along those lines, and that's how she remembers him. Because really, it's like I said, they always give him that promise of, oh, after you finish your service, you can come join. Unless maybe his brother did finish his service and ended up in the city somehow, but I think that's a lie. I'm still standing by the fact their government's lying to them hard. But
Oh, yeah.
she obviously knows his brother somehow, and my best bet would have been that day on the battlefield. Maybe
Yeah.
he came across her, found her, and saved her.
And just to clarify, the next episode was called "I'm With You."
Yep.
Okay, so breaking news, Kirito has a theory. I'm really big into something that gets brought up in one section comes back and gets used in a later section.
Mhm.
I'm wondering if something that was brought up, and I believe it was the first episode during the conversation with Annette between her and Lena, starts to come into play, where Annette mentioned that the Pararaid technology could, in lack of a better term, be overclocked to the point where not only are you having the auditory connection,
Or the
but there was
sensatory.
actually a way to do visual and the predominant sensory connections. It really starts to make me wonder if Lena's going to figure out like a way to like push her Pararaid system or get Annette to push her Pararaid system to where she actually starts having more of a on the field bond with them.
Ooh,
That's interesting.
yeah. And with that, I think that's a pretty good spot to close it. If anybody else doesn't have anything last thought,
No, I think we've covered everything in this episode for me. Lyria?
Yep, we did.
alrighty.
Yeah, I want to see the reveal with the brother, the information
I
about the
know
brother,
it.
because
Shush.
and okay,
I'm not
I
saying
actually
anything.
okay, so just like the Annette situation, I know it too, but I
Okay,
want
that's
to
it,
see
that's
it
it.
play
Shush,
out.
shut-
I
shut
want to
this
see it
door
play
now.
out.
Quiet, yeah.
So,
Ambiguous.
Thanks for what? Well, I know we did live stream this one. Once again, watch out for live streams that we do throughout the week. Mainly me. I might try to work some things out with some other ideas that I've had if I have the free time. But as once again, thanks for watching. I am Rainwolf.
I'm Kirito Silverheart.
I'm Asuna Silverheart.
And this is Lyria.
Leave a like, comment, maybe subscribe, and anyone's here. I'm not sure because I know you just got your new system. Are you? Because I know you've thought about streaming here and there, Kirito.
Yeah, actually, as soon as I get done with some home renovation projects and get my ducks in a row as far as like setting up my software and everything, my new system's up and running, so I might be able to start doing some live streams over on my personal channel, or I might even be teaming up with Rainwolf here and some others over on Convention Videos channel.
And later.
Bye.
Bye.